held on the 8th of May 2025. Councillor Buchanan? No. I can see that we have present Councillor Dewar. Councillor Equi? No. I'm aware that Councillor Ferguson has been having some technical issues. I have apologies from Councillor Gowland. Councillor Keat? I'm not seeing you present. Councillor Lockhart and Councillor Mars are in attendance. Councillor Nugent? Councillor Nugent is also experiencing technical issues, so we'll keep an eye out for Councillor Nugent. We have a number of officers in attendance, and with that, I'll pass back to yourself, Chair, to commence today's business. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth Ann. So moving on to item 1, any declarations of interest? No? Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 2, which is the minutes of the previous meeting, pages 3 to 6 of your pack. I would move them as a true and accurate record. Could I seek a seconder, please?
Second.
I second that.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Lockhart. Are there any matters arising or questions or comments on the minutes? No, I'm not seeing any indication. If we move on to the items for consideration, items 3A, the capital budget monitoring for 24-25, the general fund capital programme. If I could ask Graham or Amy to speak to that, please.
Thank you, Chair. Item 3A is the capital budget monitoring for the general fund programme. And this covers the period up to the 21st of February 2025 from both a financial and physical perspective. At section 4.1, we're noting the revised programme for the general fund remains at 69.832 million, and that consists of the base budget plus the carry forward projects and adjustments that have been agreed by the Executive Committee throughout the year up to including the meeting on the 12th of March. At section 4.2, we are noting the forecast for the financial year 24-25, and that is the forecast spend is 59.024 million, and that is the same as previously reported last time to the committee. We're currently working on finalising the year-end position for the General Services Programme, and that will be reported back to this forum in September 2025 after approval of the programme Exec Committee in June. As we've previously noted, in terms of the underspend, funding for projects remaining underspent will be carried forward to allow them to be completed in 25-26. And that is a timing issue only, with funding for the overall spend on these projects already identified into next financial year. At section 4.4, for information, we're noting the actual spend at the 21st of February of 39.5 million. An Appendix A on page 9, as I say, just outlining the budget of 69.8 across each of the resources, and there's no adjustments to the programme for this period. And at Appendix B, again, a further breakdown just of that across resources in services in terms of the budget, the forecast and the variance and spend to date. Appendix C on page 11, beg your pardon, outlines the funding for the year in terms of the 69.8 million budget that we have just now, and also the actual funding received to date. And at this point, if I could pass on to Amy to give an update on the building projects from Appendix D. Thank you.
I just want to thank Chair for allowing me to come along to report, and I can confirm as of Appendix D, page 12, there is currently no projects behind programme at this point in time, the General Services Capital Programme. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Graham and Amy, and welcome, Amy, to your first meeting. I look forward to many more with you. Are there any questions or comments on this item?
I'm not seeing any hands, Chair.
Okay, could we agree that report, please?
Agreed, Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to item 3B, the capital budget monitoring for 24-25, the housing capital programme, pages 25 to 30 of your pack. Again, we have Graham and Amy to speak to that report.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, moving on then to the housing capital programme for the covering the same period, the 1st of April 24 to the 21st of February 2025. Again, at section 4.1, we're noting the budget for the year, and for the housing capital programme, this is 77.248 million. And the programme funding for the year also totals 77.248 million, and there's a detailed of the funding sources included in Appendix A. At section 4.3, we're noting the forecast for the year against that budget of 71.2 million. And again, noting that the year-end position has currently been finalised and reported back to Executive Committee in June. But as I say, the work that we're doing just now is in line with the forecast that we have here today for this period. Just a note at section 4.4 that the forecast underspend does represent an increase underspend of 1.9 million from that previously reported. And that is due to the lack of supply in the housing market in January, which negatively impacted the acquisition target for 24-25. So a number of these ongoing acquisitions will now complete in early April 2025, and the new financial year 25-26. So then again, just a timing issue only with the funding carried forward for those as required. And I note at 4.5 that again, any council funding not utilised will be carried forward into next financial year. At 4.6, we're noting the actual position of 50.399 million spend up to the 21st of February. And as outlined previously, Appendix A, we have on page 27, we have the breakdown of the funding of 77.2 million coming from the revenue and borrowing and grant side is in line with the budgeted spend. And again, if I could just pass over to Amy for an update on Appendix B in terms of the projects.
Yes, again, I can report that there's no projects behind in period 12, and that is the end of my report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Graham and Amy. Are there any questions or comments on that report?
I'm not seeing any hands, Chair.
Thank you. Can we agree the report, please?
Agreed, Chair. Agreed, Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to item 4, which is the revenue budget monitoring for 2024-25, pages 31 to 36 of your pack. If I could ask Graham to speak to that report, please.
Thank you, Chair. Moving on then to the revenue budget monitoring for the same period to the 21st of February 25. At section 4, we just outline an executive summary in terms of reminding everyone of our probable outturn position for the year. So as reported previously, the outturn position for the general fund presented an underspend of 13.727 million, and that was after a previously approved transfers to reserves totaling 31.853 million. In terms of that 13.7 million, members approved that this underspend be transferred to reserves for various things, and they're outlined at section 4.2 in terms of the loans fund review underspend and the remainder being used for one-off investments in 25-26 budget. And full details of the transfers to reserves were included to report to the Executive Committee back in February. At section 5, we're just giving an update on the forecast position against that outturn, and the position presented reflects the outturn underspend of 13.7 million as a transfer to reserves, which results in an overall break-even position for the Council's projected outturn for 24-25. As the financial year-end position progresses in terms of finalising that just now, it is expected that these variances will materialise. So again, we'll be bringing the year-end report to Exec Committee in June, and subsequently the position to the Scrutiny Forum in September, along with the New Year report. At section 5.2, just noting in terms of the Scottish Government issued the local government finance order back in February, and as well as advising of the 25-26 settlement, it also provided a confirmation of a number of revenue grant redeterminations for financial year 24-25. So those amounts have already been uploaded into the budget this financial year, and there were no changes from the indicative figures previously provided. In terms of the housing revenue account position, this is outlined in section 6 and appendix 3, and this is a break-even position, and it includes a lower than budgeted transfers from reserves being required in the financial year, and that's mainly a result of an over-recovery in income due to greater than budgeted income from rent collection. So again, the year-end will provide confirmation of the actual outturn position, and it is anticipated that the forecast position will materialise. On page 34, as I say, we have the usual appendix with the position before transfers to reserves and the year-to-date actual for information. And on page 35, as I say, appendix 2 shows the position as a break-even position after transfers to reserves. And again, the actual year-to-date actual is also there for information. And in appendix 3, we have the housing revenue account showing the break-even position and the less transfer to reserves with a range of variance explanations. So if I go back to the recommendations, as I say on page 31, just the probable outturn position after transfers to reserves be noted, that the forecast on the general fund revenue account and the actual spend at 21st of February be noted, and that the projected break-even position on the housing revenue account for 24-25 be noted. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Graham. Are there any questions or comments on that report?
I'm not seeing any hands, Chair.
Thank you. If we could agree the report, please.
Agreed, Chair.
Thank you. If we move on to the item 5 now, the revenue budget monitoring for 2024-25, the detailed resource analysis, pages 37 to 100 of your pack, starting with community and enterprise. Please, Graham.
Thank you, Chair. As normal, I'll just run through these in resource order and stop after resource if anyone wants to any specific questions. So community and enterprise is outlined in summary, is outlined on page 39 in Appendix A, noting the position there, bottom of a 40,000 underspend before the transfers to reserves, and the explanations for the variances, and the detail behind that is then thereafter down to page, sorry, the explanations are down to page 52, and then the specific forecasts against each of the lines thereafter. And again, anything new from previously has been underlined, so happy to take any questions on community and enterprise resources specifically.
Thank you, Graham. Any questions or comments, members?
I'm not seeing any hands, Chair.
Thank you. If we could move on to education, please, Graham.
Thank you, Chair. Education resources, Appendix B on page 57.
Can you, sorry.
Apologies, Chair, started speaking there before pressing the mic again, that's fine. So I was just explaining that on the education position is on Appendix B on page 57 and showing the position there of 417,000 underspend before transfers to reserves. Thereafter, from page 58 down to page 61, we have the variance explanations, and again, anything new from previously is underlined, and then along with the specifics of the lines thereafter down to page 64. So again, happy to take any questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions on that section of the report?
I'm not seeing any hands, Chair.
Thank you. If we move on to finance and corporate, please.
The finance and corporate summary is on page 65 of your papers, Appendix C, and we are showing an underspend of 856,000 before transfers to reserves, and the year-to-date actual, again shown for information at the right-hand side. Again, we have our variance analysis down to page 70, and thereafter, as I say, the specifics in terms of the against each line in terms of the budget and forecast and variance down to page 72. And again, happy to take any questions on finance and corporate resources. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any questions on that section of the report?
I'm not seeing any hands, Chair.
Thank you. If we could move on to housing and technical resources, please.
The Housing and Technical Resources Summary position is on page 73, Appendix D, and we're noting the underspend of 705,000 before transfers to reserves. Again, the specific variance analysis for Housing and Tech excluding the HRA is on page 74 down to page 79, and then the specifics in terms of the various lines thereafter down to page 82. And on page 83 onwards, we have the Housing and Technical's HRA variance explanations down to page 86. And again, the specifics of the lines thereafter down to page 88. So again, happy to take any questions on either the Housing and Technical General Fund or HRA position, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. Are there any questions on that section of the report?
I'm not seeing any hands, Chair.
Thank you. If we could move on to the final part of the report, social work resources, please.
Thank you, Chair. Finally then, social work resources on page 89. The summary showing an underspend of 1.189 million before transfers to reserves in Appendix F. And again, the variance analysis is from page 90 onwards, with again any of the new variances from previously underlined since we last reported, and the specifics of the lines in terms of the budgets, actual and forecasts are from page 97 onwards. Apologies, Chair, a bit of darkness there when I was finishing off that. So again, happy to take any questions in relation to social work. Thank you.
Thank you. There's more technical difficulties than expected today. Any questions on that section of the report for Graham?
I'm not seeing any hands, Chair.
Okay, thank you. If we could agree all of item 5 together, please.
Agreed, Chair.
Thank you. Many thanks. Item 6 is urgent business, of which I have none. So all that remains for me is to thank everyone for their attendance today and declare the meeting closed. Thank you.